Did you ever wonder who the original inhabitants of Brazil were before the Europeans arrived? Long before the Portuguese set foot on Brazilian soil, a myriad of indigenous cultures thrived in this vast land. These societies were as varied and colorful as the landscapes they inhabited, from the dense Amazon rainforest to the arid plains of the Cerrado. Each group had its own customs and languages, a rich tapestry of human experience and knowledge that continues to influence Brazilian society to this day. They were skilled farmers, hunters, and artisans with a deep respect for the natural world that surrounded them. Their wisdom and ingenuity are reflected in Brazil's culinary traditions, its music, and its folklore. Despite the challenges they faced, from European colonization to modern-day struggles for land rights and cultural preservation, their legacy endures. These indigenous peoples laid the foundations of the rich Brazilian culture we know today. So, who were the first Europeans to set foot on Brazilian soil? Well, that honor goes to Portuguese explorer Pedro Álvares Cabral, who landed on Brazil's shores in 1500. This marked the beginning of Portuguese colonization in Brazil. The Portuguese, lured by the abundance of natural resources, quickly established colonies across the vast landscapes of Brazil. The colonies thrived on the exploitation of Brazil's natural resources, particularly Brazil wood, from which the country gets its name. But the Portuguese weren't alone. They interacted with the indigenous peoples, often leading to conflict and cultural exchange. The indigenous peoples' knowledge of the land and its resources played a crucial role in the survival and success of these early colonies. However, the Portuguese colonization also brought about significant changes to the indigenous way of life, their cultures, and the natural environment. These changes set the stage for the Brazil we know today. Thus began a new chapter in Brazil's history, marked by European influence. But how did Brazil become one of the world's leading sugar producers? The answer lies in the heart of its colonial history. Upon discovering Brazil's fertile land and tropical climate, the Portuguese colonizers swiftly initiated the cultivation of sugarcane. The industry grew rapidly, transforming Brazil into a primary sugar supplier for Europe in the 17th century. This sugar boom significantly shaped the socio-economic landscape of Brazil. It led to the establishment of a plantation-based economy where large estates known as engenhos were dedicated to sugar production. These plantations were labor-intensive, a demand met through the heartbreaking importation of African slaves, marking the beginning of a dark chapter in Brazil's history. The environmental impact was also substantial. Vast tracts of native vegetation were cleared to make way for the sugar plantations, altering Brazil's landscape forever. The sugarcane industry left an indelible mark on Brazilian society and its economy. This is not just a story of economic prosperity, but also a tale of human suffering and environmental change. Did you know that Brazil was the last country in the Western world to abolish slavery? A chilling fact, but indeed true. The history of slavery in Brazil is a story of unimaginable scale and profound endurance. Enslaved Africans were transported across the Atlantic in the largest forced migration in human history. Upon arrival in Brazil, they were subjected to grueling labor on sugar plantations, coffee farms, and in mining operations. The work was backbreaking, conditions were inhumane, and the life expectancy of a slave was shockingly short. Yet against these odds, enslaved Africans resisted, rebelled, and created vibrant cultures that have profoundly shaped Brazil. Their influence can be seen and felt in Brazil's music, cuisine, dance, religion, and language. Yet the scars of this brutal period are still visible. Racial inequality, socioeconomic disparities, and cultural biases are the lingering effects of this dark chapter in Brazil's history. The legacy of slavery continues to affect Brazilian society to this day. So, when and how did Brazil gain its independence? Well, let's dive into the year 1822. A pivotal year in Brazilian history, marked by the proclamation of independence from Portugal. This monumental event was led by none other than Dom Pedro I, a figure synonymous with Brazilian independence. This wasn't an overnight process. Dom Pedro's decision to break away from Portugal was driven by a series of political disputes and the growing desire for autonomy among Brazilians. His famous cry of "independence or death" on the banks of the Ipiranga River echoed the sentiments of a nation longing for self-governance. Following independence, Brazil didn't become a republic right away. Instead, it transformed into the Brazilian Empire with Dom Pedro I as its first emperor. The empire navigated through several political, social, and economic challenges, shaping the nation's trajectory in the years to come. With independence, Brazil stepped into a new era of political and social challenges. But when and how did slavery finally end in Brazil, you may ask? The year was 1888, a pivotal moment in Brazilian history. The Lei Áurea, or Golden Law, was passed, marking the abolition of slavery. This monumental change didn't just happen overnight. It was the result of tireless efforts by abolitionists both within and outside Brazil. Figures like Joaquim Nabuco and Princess Isabel played significant roles in this fight for freedom. Simultaneously, political reforms were brewing. The monarchy under Emperor Dom Pedro II was losing its grip. The military, dissatisfied with the imperial regime, started to demand a republican form of government. In 1889, a military coup led by Deodoro da Fonseca overthrew the Brazilian Empire, marking the end of the monarchy and the birth of the first Brazilian Republic. The abolition of slavery and the fall of the empire brought about profound changes in Brazilian society. It was a time when Brazil began to redefine its identity and lay the foundations for its future. How did Brazil become such a culturally diverse country? The answer lies in its rich history of immigration. From the late 19th to the mid-20th century, Brazil witnessed waves of immigrants from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Each group brought with it its own unique set of customs, traditions, and beliefs, and these diverse influences have significantly shaped the country's culture and society. First came the Italians, Germans, and Poles, who primarily settled in the South, introducing European farming techniques and contributing to the development of the industrial sector. Then there were the Japanese, who arrived in the early 20th century, making Brazil home to the largest Japanese population outside Japan. They played a significant role in diversifying the agricultural sector, particularly in the cultivation of coffee. Lastly, the Middle Eastern immigrants, primarily from Lebanon and Syria, have greatly influenced Brazilian cuisine, music, and literature. Immigration has played a vital role in shaping Brazil's unique cultural identity. What is the significance of the Amazon rainforest in Brazilian history and culture? The Amazon rainforest is not just a significant part of Brazil's landscape, but also its historical narrative and cultural identity. For centuries, this vast, vibrant ecosystem has been home to diverse indigenous communities, whose lives and traditions are intricately woven into the fabric of the forest. Through the ages, the Amazon rainforest has also been a source of economic prosperity, providing natural resources that have fueled Brazil's growth. Yet this has come with a cost. Deforestation, agricultural expansion, and environmental degradation pose serious threats to this vital ecosystem. In the face of these challenges, efforts to protect and conserve the Amazon rainforest have been intensifying. Environmentalists, indigenous communities, and even governments are rallying together to preserve this unique part of Brazil's heritage. Their work is a testament to the fact that the Amazon rainforest is not just a part of Brazil's history, but also its future. How did Brazil transition from a military dictatorship to a democracy? This question takes us back to 1964, when a military coup overthrew the democratic government. For the next 21 years, Brazil was under a military dictatorship, a period marked by political repression, human rights abuses, and stringent economic policies. During this time, freedom of speech was suppressed, numerous political opponents were jailed or exiled, and the economy was controlled with an iron fist. Despite these hardships, resistance grew steadily within Brazilian society, leading to widespread protests and calls for democratic reforms. In the mid-80s, the military government finally gave way to civilian rule, marking the dawn of a new era in Brazilian history. This transition wasn't easy. It was a product of years of struggle, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the ideals of democracy. The path to democracy in Brazil was a hard-fought journey. It serves as a reminder of the importance of democratic values and the power of collective action. What are the challenges and opportunities that Brazil faces today? As we delve into the present day, it's clear that Brazil grapples with a host of challenges. Poverty and inequality persist, with a significant portion of the population living below the poverty line. Corruption remains a serious issue, undermining the country's governance and economic development. In the face of these hurdles, Brazil also confronts the mammoth task of environmental sustainability, particularly in preserving the Amazon rainforest, its crown jewel. Yet these challenges do not eclipse Brazil's potential. With its rich natural resources and vibrant culture, Brazil has immense possibilities for economic growth and social development. Its young population serves as a dynamic workforce, ready to drive innovation and progress. The nation's cultural diversity is a wellspring of creativity and resilience, a testament to its unique history and identity. Despite its challenges, Brazil remains a country full of potential and promise.